So right now, Dragon Ball Super is kind of in a weird situation. We have rumors and speculation that it might be coming back sometime as early as July 2019, while the manga is still forging ahead with new and original stories. But the one thing we do know is that apparently the next arc of Dragon Ball Super is going to be incredibly fan servicey. What does that mean? What is that story going to be about? Let's talk about it. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on these social media platforms. Enjoy the video. Okay, so while I don't have a story laid out for this arc right now, if you guys like what you hear here, then tell me in the comment section below. I would really like to rack my brain and try my best to come up with a legit story with these antagonists and with this plot that I'm going to lay out here, at least for the first chapter of this new arc. But really, I'm going to be talking about today something that I absolutely have always adored about Dragon Ball over the last couple years, especially since the revolution of Dragon Ball, the revitalization of the Dragon Ball fandom as it pertains not only to the anime but the manga and the video games as well. I think a lot of that can be laid at the feet of not only Battle of Gods but also Dragon Ball Xenoverse, where you had the introduction, at least to the mainstream audience, of Towa and Mira. And if you've watched my channel for any real stretch of time, you know I am an absolute adoring fan of these two antagonists. First of all, Dragon Ball as a whole doesn't do this a whole lot. I don't really recall a time ever where the series is played out with two antagonists instead of one. Yes, the main story of anything that they're involved in does end up being kind of a slugfest, or one person after the whole entire group or something else like that. But I feel like this dynamic, these characters, and the story that they're going to tell here would be incredibly interesting to dive into in Dragon Ball Super, whether it's these two characters or maybe even just one character that takes aspects from both of them and is created based around these characters to fit in the Dragon Ball Super timeline. Of course, another thing we're going to be touching on here, because it's kind of a Towa and Mira storyline, is trying to tie in the whole Future Trunks arc from Dragon Ball Super into the main story that they're trying to tell with the revitalized series, trying to sew all of that up together with the multiverse, with the taboo concept of time travel, and also building the future of the series with characters, building the timeline, and allowing for Dragon Ball Super to continue despite the end of Dragon Ball Z and what that means for the canon of Dragon Ball Super. So I feel like the first part of the story, essentially the very first chapter of this arc, would just be slice of life information with all of the main Dragon Ball characters. We get to see Gohan studying, Videl taking care of Pan, Mr. Satan and Buu having a nice meal together while Satan's trying to sell something or that. We even get to see Ten Shinhan training in his dojo, Yamcha trying to get his life together, Krillin and 18 Marin, and everyone having a family day, while we also get to see Chi-Chi making sure that Goten is doing his studies, while Trunks is chasing after Marin and Piccolo is meditating in some vast forest. Just all of this stuff and more encompasses the first several pages of this chapter, and pretty much the entirety of what we're going to see to set up this arc. But at least halfway through this chapter, we finally get to see our main antagonist for the arc. And I'm not saying it's Mira, I'm not saying it's Towa or anything else like that. Maybe it's a new character or two new characters that take traits from those characters from the video games, but just have adapted them differently to fit in the main storyline. But we get to see these characters introduced. We get to see very close-up images of them stepping or walking in the streets, various shots of this character's muscle-bound arms, but no real definition on the face until almost the very end of the chapter, where we're finally introduced to one of our main characters in Dragon Ball. Not Goku. Goku is nowhere to be seen in this chapter, but Vegeta, training somewhere in the vast openness of some countryside. It's here that we finally get to see our antagonist's face, as he looks directly at Vegeta and even challenges him to a fight. One way I would treat this is make it very much akin to the introduction of Raditz and meeting Piccolo at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. This is a character who has come out of nowhere and is stronger than anybody else right now in this part of the story. So Vegeta and him have a legitimate standoff moment. Vegeta, and eventually because of this guy and his nature towards Vegeta, maybe even taunting Vegeta, Vegeta goes after him, first in base. That does nothing. This guy is way too strong. It's almost like Goku going after Jiren in the Tournament of Power. Vegeta has to level up to Super Saiyan still. Nothing can be done. This guy is taking it blow for blow, not even dodging, until Vegeta goes Super Saiyan 2, where this guy finally has to put up his hands and make sure that Vegeta cannot hurt him. When it's overly clear that Vegeta does not have the upper hand in Super Saiyan 2, he smirks and goes, not God, not Super Saiyan God, not Super Saiyan Blue Evolved, but Super Saiyan 3. Vegeta turns Super Saiyan 3, goes after this guy, and after a little bit of playing around, this guy, whether it's Mira or whoever, this guy ends up beating up Vegeta in his Super Saiyan 3 form, takes the power away from Vegeta, drains him of all of it until he is dead, drops him on the floor until a Towa-like character appears right behind him and says, that's the best this timeline could produce. Let's move on. So the thing is, I'm setting up a story, and I feel like this would be incredibly fan servicey. This could bring in Dragon Ball GT if they're so inclined and help fix the timeline between Dragon Ball Super and the end of Dragon Ball Z. You have these two characters traveling against time and changing one element like they do in the video games to override everything that's happened in that particular timeline and create new and stronger warriors. Think about it like this. They don't know the possibilities if one little variable changes in Dragon Ball's timeline. So they go back in time, they fix one thing, and then they wait long enough for those characters to reach their peak, and then they go and they steal the energy, trying to make the Mira-like character stronger with each iteration of these characters that they're fighting. And as you tell this story with these antagonists, you get to go back in time to classic Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z moments and have these characters manipulate and change one thing. For this opening story, the next chapter would start with these two characters going back and making sure that Goku takes out Majin Buu in his Super Saiyan 3 form, like he said in Dragon Ball Z, which leads to Vegeta coming back, eventually getting Super Saiyan 3. Nobody knows fusion, all of this other stuff that just didn't happen because Goku did take out Buu instead of allowing Buu to live when he was in his Super Saiyan 3 form. Of course, then you would tell this story and play with this dynamic, showcasing all these different timelines and all of these different iterations of Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Trunks, everybody, maybe even bringing in future Trunks again, going into Dragon Ball GT, and really allowing a multi-timeline, multi-universal story where these two characters drain people of their energy until they eventually come up against Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Frieza, Gohan, and everybody else in the super timeline that we know of. And of course, because they're doing this, we get to rope in the timeline, the taboo stuff that everyone's been talking about, or at least the gods know about, from the future Trunks arc of Dragon Ball Super, and get to expand upon that a little bit more, explain why time travel is taboo and what it can do to the multiverse if someone were to take advantage of it like this, and maybe even set up at the very end of this, maybe just to explore Dragon Ball just a little bit more and expand it beyond just Dragon Ball Super, if that's really what they want to do, and set up a Xenoverse time controller like situation where Trunks, future Trunks, now has a place in the world, and he's not just in his small little reality with two Trunkses and two Mais and one Bulma and everything else that so many people, I was at KamehamehaCon this past weekend, and I feel like a lot of people have a problem with that. They don't know what that future timeline is all like and what's actually going on with Trunks and Mai and everything. Maybe this is a way to fix that. Tie everything together, make that arc in Dragon Ball Super make sense with the grander story, and fix the ending of Dragon Ball Z, rope in GT, show or canonize Super Saiyan 4 without having to make it a mainstay transformation in Dragon Ball Super, and just allow fans to relive some of the glory days, but a little bit differently in the main story of Dragon Ball. And really, I think the coolest thing about this arc that's not like anything else that Super could give us, just personally, this story can last forever. This could be another Majin Buu type story. And I know a lot of people don't like that story, but it did last for a really long time in the manga. And it set up a whole lot of main stakes, a lot of issues, a lot of character moments, a lot of real sweet things, tragedy, a lot of character shine. Everyone got a chance to fight the bad guys, new amazing power-ups, all of that stuff. And it was so long. I mean, that's one thing I think that Dragon Ball needs. We need an incredibly long arc, something that still is like 90 episodes. If Dragon Ball Super is going to come back this July, and if they do a retelling of the Broly movie, which everyone hopes that they don't do that, but if they do that, that's fine, as long as it's like 15 episodes. And then they're going to do what they're doing in the manga now, but then we're going to jump into a massive story like this that plays on everyone's nostalgia and tries to tell a broad, more interesting story that wraps in everything from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Super, fixing timelines and really assuring that Dragon Ball has a future, not just in the main story with Goku and Vegeta, but possibly with another huge fan favorite like Trunks. That would be amazing. That would be a story I feel like everyone would get behind, and it would make Dragon Ball that much bigger again. Trust me, I think people would love this. I know I would, but tell me in the comment section below, is this something that you would love to see in the future of Dragon Ball? Is this something, like, what's your big problem with it if you do not like it? Constructive conversation in the comment section below. Is it too close? Is it too silly? Is it too ridiculous to think that these characters, these timelines, setting up all this stuff can take place in Dragon Ball? Or is it something that you would like to see? I'm really interested to see what everyone in the comment section below has to say on this particular subject. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. And also, go down to the description section below, hit that link, and go follow me on Twitter, where we can talk about Dragon Ball, anything else I cover on this channel, but anything else that I cover on the other channel, which is the Saw franchise, horror movies, The Walking Dead, anything else I cover on that channel, or just have a general conversation. I'm always on Twitter. It's so much easier to talk to me over there. Like I said, guys, I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. It's been real.